All right, what is going on, guys? We are back for another episode of the Chasing Waypoints podcast. This is episode number 28. And this time around, we got something pretty awesome. So, most of us get to see the Dakar and all of these other rallies around the world. Silkway just recently happened. Hell's Rally coming up. All sorts of stuff going down. But there's a very important job that gets done out there, and we have no idea how big that story is and what kind of work goes into that. But the people that I've got this time around know a little bit about that. This time around, we're going to be talking to Justin and Kyra of WestX1000, fresh from the Silkway Rally, and now on to a few trips of Dakar already. So interested to hear the backstory of it and what goes on when you're part of the media train on these big events. So turn down the party here a little bit so we get them hanging out there. All right. Justin and Kyra, you guys there?
Boom, boom.
Yeah.
Boom, boom.
Live from the moon. No, where are you guys at?
We are in Verona, Italy at the moment.
Very nice. So we were talking about that a minute ago. So Verona, Italy.
Yes, sir.
What's got you guys there?
We first came out here several years ago to catch up with a friend of ours. His name's Manuel Lucchese. He's a Dakar rider. He owns Rebel X, and he's like an all-around cool Italian dude. And he lives just outside the city, and we've always wanted to check out this place. And when we got here, we fell in love. It's like picturesque fairy tale kind of stuff.
Don't tell too many people.
And, yeah.
Awful.
I got to cue up that beeping noise for when people, so if you guys give away something.
Beep out the location. It's one of those places I'm sure people know about, but
Yeah, it's terrible.
it's awful.
Okay, horrible. Whatever you do, don't get on a plane there.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Nice. Very nice. So you guys just got off the Silkway Rally.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A little bit ahead of schedule, but yes.
Yeah, we finished 5 days early, 5 days early.
Yeah, I think so.
They drew it to a close prematurely, and we pivoted off of that, went back to Paris, and then kind of on our way back to Paris, we had to figure out what we were doing or what we were going to do. So we settled on just hanging out in Paris for 4 or 5 days, which was fine.
It's nice. We have friends there. I mean, Paris is great. It's just very expensive when you're not expecting to be there.
On short notice.
Yeah.
I mean, it still sounds horrible. Why would you ever do that? But
Don't go there either.
Yeah,
don't go there.
On short notice, it was, it like shit, like, okay, we're stuck in Paris for an extra 5 days that we weren't planning to be here. So that means, hotel or Airbnb plus eating, drinking, getting around, all that. So
I know. And we have the worst Airbnb.
it just added up, but, the Silkway getting through a monkey wrench into kind of everybody's plans. So I think we had it pretty easy. There were a lot of race teams and folks who traveled a huge distance, spent a ton of money to go there. And then, it was
circumstantial, of course. It's just, COVID regulations, things like that. The borders got closed in Mongolia. So they pretty much barred any Russian border crossing. And so we just continued by doing a couple more stages in Siberia, and then they shuttled us out.
Yeah, wow. So just straight up turned around. I did see, I think somebody posted an interview with Daniel Sanders talking about how he was like 11 minutes faster heading back.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, they reran 2 stages in succession, and
they're both fast stages in general already. And then now there's stages where these guys have already, for the most part, memorized the road book. I mean, it's not hard. The muscle memory is still there. It's only been a day.
Since you just blew through there.
Yeah. I actually drove one half of the first stage that we redid. And I drove it the second day. The first day I was in the back of the Land Cruiser and half awake. And then the second day I actually drove it, and I remembered a tremendous amount of the stage from my previous like half woken slumber trip. And so I just imagine like if I can remember parts of it when I'm, like half awake, I can't imagine what, Skylar and Daniel and Shorty and those guys can keep track of. Like, it's obviously, I mean, given that Sanders was 11 minutes faster on the stage, like
it was a foot race at that point.
Yeah, it was it was a foot race.
Yeah.
For sure.
And there goes all the navigation and the equal playing field is just who memorized it better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and who has a faster bike and bigger balls, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Who's willing to send it?
Yep.
Speaking of sending it, and Kyra, you wrote a real interesting quote that a friend of ours, Jason, quoted was of the Kamaz truck going through that water crossing.
Oh yeah.
That was sent. It was interesting to see how like the bikes were like barely making it through there, like they're tippy toeing trying to get it through it, and the Kamaz just not a single.
The difference is staggering. I mean, like, what is even a point of hesitation for a lot of the pro riders is like literally just kind of a bump in the road for most of the Kamas.
Yeah.
Like, we found a video of the Kamas going into the river, and there was like literally no hesitation. He just goes in, goes out, and then it's runs over everything in his path.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just in time to hit the wipers.
Yeah.
And they're right back to it.
It's really hard to describe what the Kamas is to, especially to North American racing fans who,
they've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, they've never seen one.
Don't know rally.
And even to see one in a video doesn't do it justice because perspective is so askew. It's like it's like the guy posting that epic hill climb video and you're watching it and you're like, that doesn't look that steep, And then,
until you're standing at the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And you're looking at me like, damn, And that's kind of that's the Kamas to me is like they sit
over their wheelbase. They're the front.
A lot of them are. A lot of them are forward control. Yeah.
And like we have a friend when we were at Dakar. His name's what did I just say? Nuno, and he was riding in one of the Polaris Maz trucks, and he has video from inside. And literally, you go up a hill, and all you see is sky. You go down over a dune, and all you see is the ground. Like there's no median point. It's like either you're all sky, all ground, all cliff.
Yeah, they're crazy.
They really don't see what's coming.
Yeah.
So that's why, they will run you over because they have no idea you're there.
Yep.
Half the time.
Jeez.
Yeah, myself and one of the Red Bull photographers, a good friend of ours, Marcin, he and I came back from a stage sort of at the like we both arrived at the Bivouac in different states of disrepair, and he was covered in mud and I gave him one of those like what the fuck happened to you moments, and he just showed me a photo of one of the Kamas trucks, like what appeared to be like 6 inches from his face, and he's like, it almost killed me, and I was like, oh okay, yeah, I totally know that feeling. I've had that happen to me numerous times now, where it's not that they're trying to kill you, it's just that
they don't really care.
They don't need you.
They have another job.
Yeah.
Your job is don't get run over. Their job is win.
Yeah.
So how I'm understanding is there's bullfighters, and then there's photographers at races.
Yeah,
that's kind of what I'm picking up.
Yeah.
Depending on the type of photographer you are, you might have a long lens, or you might be like Justin and care a relatively just wide lens.
Yeah, I like to get up close and personal. They just there's something about those trucks that
they're amazing.
Don't get me wrong. The Score Series trophy truck is its own sort of wild dinosaur of a thing, but the Kamas are something else. It's something you don't expect to be going that fast.
Oh, and they're huge. Going through the Bivouac or waiting at the starting line when they come up, and they're all kind of like there's a traffic jam at the intersections with all the Kamas. It's like akin to if you're a Star Wars fan, like dwelling among all the AT-AT. Okay, good. like being at the foot of all these things, like being among dinosaurs sort of thing. You're really dwarfed around them, and you have to be very careful.
Because they just accidentally step on you.
Yeah,
exactly.
For sure. I don't want to dwell on Kama stuff too long, but there's one thing that I always have to tell people about the Kama trucks and why I'm both like totally intrigued and completely terrified by them. There's a scene in Saving Private Ryan, the movie, where they're waiting in this little town for the Germans to arrive, and it's very quiet, and in the distance you can hear the tanks rolling into town, and you just hear them like crunching over like destroyed buildings and just all the shit that they've blown up. But you just hear them coming slowly, and you don't know which direction they're coming from, but you know they're coming, and they're terrifying. And when I was in Peru for Dakar in the sand dunes, I could hear the Kamas. I could hear them coming. Like I could hear the blow off valve from their giant turbochargers in the distance, like echoing across the dunes.
Initially, you can't tell if it's like a loud wind, if it's something else. You can't exactly tell what it is. And then you hear it, and then it bounces off all the dunes. So you don't know which direction it's coming from, and it doesn't necessarily get louder as it approaches because the sound is moving.
Yeah.
And then it's just extremely loud.
And all of a sudden you have a Kamas like cresting a dune right above you, like laying this giant cloud of sand off of it, coming down at you. And they really are
and
insane.
They're not going slowly, unlike the tank.
The tank is crawling. The Kamas is like a raging bull, like your reference.
Oh, it's amazing.
Inertia, momentum.
Yeah.
Oh, ridiculous.
They're just nuts. So
yeah.
So I broke out the calculator where we were talking about this, and I think new regulations with SCORE allow trophy trucks to go up to a 42, which is up from 40-inch. What was the most recent? A Kama, the mandated tire is a 50. No taller than a 50. That is a tall tire.
That's pretty big.
Yeah, they're pretty good size. Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so we know now a little bit of the story, which is, part of what you guys do is dodge trucks, because the bikes are a little bit more manageable. You hear them coming from ways. But
they move a lot more nimbly. Nimble?
Nimble-ish? Nimble-ish.
I use a lot of autocorrect.
She writes for a living. As you can tell.
I spell for a living.
So, all right. So now we know one part of the job. So what is a typical day like for you guys? And you guys, it's two very different jobs, right?
Yeah.
Justin, you're usually out in dodging trucks and bikes. Yeah. And Kyra, you're in the bivouac looking for signal and trying to get stuff written. I mean, what does a typical day look like at a rally, like Silkway rally?
Well, I guess we'll just split it right in half. Both like, oh man, Silkway this year was a lot to answer that question. A lot of it depends on the time zone, because Kyra is writing content, press releases, and content for the U.S. market, the North American market, predominantly. And because of that, she needs to be delivering stuff as soon as possible for them, given their timing. So, 6 a.m., 7 a.m. East Coast time is ideal so that people can then publish it. So at Silkway was really rough because we were 12 hours. It was.
I think we were 11 hours ahead.
11 hours ahead. It was at a point where, like, when most people were going to bed, she was just starting her program to get content out and to finish edits and all that stuff. So
it's technically, not to cut you off, you're on a good roll, but technically for me, my job varies depending on the race itself. Silkway, for instance, I'm Silkway and a lot of other races. It's more accessible for me to get on course. I carry my own Wi-Fi nowadays, so for the most part, I can do work on the course or near it or in transit. So I don't really have to stay at the bivouac, which is the nightmare I've had at Dakar. And then Dakar is more transit than Bivouac, because usually our liaisons are like 500K, 800K, something like that. And then if I'm lucky enough to get onto the course, which is what I prefer, especially this time at Silkway, I was making a lot of social media content, so I didn't get to write as much and prep myself. And so I still stayed up mostly like, I don't know, all night, every day. Mm-hmm. Whereas you'd think that 11 hours ahead, I'd have a head start or something like that. And instead I was inefficiently using my time. And yeah, I wanted to try and make social content too, because I feel like there's something people miss on behind the scenes. There's something people miss from not having a lot of visual content to get to experience. And so Justin and I did our best to try and capture some of that from our perspective. But it takes a lot out of my time. His is far more rigorous, I think, in regards to like being physically demanding, and time sensitive, because he's also, when he's out there, if we work with our friends from Rally Zone, he's making content both for me and for them, and then anyone else who's hired us to do any content. So he pretty much wakes up at 3:00 in the morning, drives out to wherever it is that they're supposed to be going, if they sleep there or not, works all day, and then drives back. And if he has any time, he also edits his photos from the road and sends them out as soon as possible. So it's just always good.
It is a whole nother, like, there's I'm just thinking, right, from the racer's perspective. Okay, get back to the bivouac, get a massage, get the road book, get ready for the next day.
Eat some noodles. I mean, if you're looking at especially the pro or the even nearly pro dudes, that's their program. You know, the Malle Moto guys have it. I think the only people that have it as bad as we do are the Malle Moto guys.
Oh God, yeah.
And that's sort of self-inflicted pain. They're as masochistic as we are, because they're not only choosing to do this shit, they're paying to do it. Like,
you're getting paid to do it.
I'm over here trying to get paid to do it. They're giving other people their money. They can happily give me their money. I always joke about that. You know all those those boot camps that people do nowadays, where somebody yells at you and you run around and all this shit to try to get paid.
Lift a tire, whatever.
I would happily do that. Like if you need that in your life, you call me, a couple $100. I will chase you around, yell and scream. Like I will scare the shit out of you and get you to run or whatever. I just I don't know.
It's got to be like a crying clause. Like, you can't sue me.
Yeah, you can't.
No matter how.
There will be no hurt feelings reports in this.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Because the one woman who was in the bike category, she had to go. She's I think from Belarusian. Yeah, thank you. And she's this is her first bigger format rally, and because it's so expensive, she went essentially Malle Moto. It's a different term at Silkway, but and she said the problem with Malle is that the one mistake you make just creates a domino effect. Like, if you make one mistake, every day will get worse progressively until you're done. Yeah. And then that's just how it is. Like, they just have to suffer it. So, I mean, if you're racing Malle Moto, you need to come in it knowing that every day will suck terribly and probably worse than the day before.
Yeah.
Wow. And so so you guys kind of follow along on that schedule, but it's kind of a restart, right? I mean, for you guys, and each day could be a new challenge. How does so there's a kind of a difference, right? Transportation wise. So how do you guys get around at these events?
So for the last
6 years.
Yeah, I guess we met. The story begins in Italy. we met two Italians. We were invited to go to the Sardinia rally,
which at the time was still FIM.
Yeah, it was still an FIM rally at the time. We were invited by Ned Cease. Ned is Ned Duro on ADV Rider.
Double Take Mirrors.
He owns Double Take Mirrors. He's he's sort of infamous in a lot of ways. And he was going to race the Sardinia Rally with his friend Scott Bright. And I got a phone call. And Manuel Lucchese. Yeah, in hindsight, we didn't know that at the time. But I got a phone call from Justin Bradshaw, who at the time was one of the co-owners of Butler Maps. And Bradshaw just said, "Hey, I know someone who's going to this race. Do you guys want to go as the media team to Italy, yada, yada, yada?" And I just said yes. I was like, sure. Yeah, that sounds great. And I knew nothing about it. And we were living in Japan at the time. And long story short, we ended up going to cover this event. And in order to get around in Sardinia to shoot photos and do stuff, Manuel Lucchese, who we talked about earlier, Manny introduced us to these two Italian dudes, Cristiano and Eduardo, and we ended up in their Land Cruiser. And basically for the last 6 years, I've been in that same Land Cruiser. It's a 1999 J90 Prado Land Cruiser turbo diesel that was purchased by Eduardo new in 1999 and was his daily driver for a decade almost or more. And then it was converted into a Dakar photo chase vehicle. So it's fully caged. It's technically FIA legal because it's,
if you're going to go onto the course for Dakar, at the very least Dakar, you must have essentially a race spec legal vehicle because of the safety regulations.
Yeah, so it's got an air track and fully caged, 4 racing seats, suspension, brakes, all, fire suppression, all that stuff.
Crazy.
So it's a full-blown race truck. It's our photo rig, and it's got, it carries a lot of stuff. Instead of being light and fast, it's, fat and slow. There's four photographers in it, with all of our, 3 photographers in Kyra, with all of our stuff and, camping stuff.
It's got a fridge.
Photos. Yeah, it's got a reefer in the back. The back seats, there's a curtain, a blackout curtain that goes around the back. Basically, we put this wire in around the roll cage, and you can run blackout curtains so you can be in the back of the truck and edit photos while other people are driving, which is actually extraordinarily handy, especially at Dakar when time is
of the essence.
Yeah, time is so short. So that, to answer your question, that it's a 1999 J90 Prado Land Cruiser that we have basically spent 6 years. I think I was trying to count up how many countries and how many miles or kilometers I've done in that rig. It's an absurd number. I mean, I was doing 600-700 kilometer days at Silkway this year, and so
I rode in whatever anybody would take me in. Sometimes it's a car, sometimes it's a helicopter or a bus, or an airplane.
Yeah, Kyra spent lots of time in shitty Russian helicopters and really, really uncomfortable bus situations.
Oh, man. This year I was especially spoiled because we went to Dakar with Polaris, so I was in one of their motorhomes the whole time. Mm-hmm. And then this Silkway, the organization was kind enough to let me have a media vehicle, and it was supposed to be for Justin and I, so I guess they just kind of planned for 2 people in there. And then Justin rode with Rally Zone, so I had a personal driver.
Nice.
Yeah,
and he was cool. Neither of us spoke each other's language. We communicated 100% on Google Translate.
Yeah, he spoke zero English.
Yeah,
not a lick.
None of it.
Yeah,
but it was great, and we just pretty much. I mean, I would write while he drove, and then he'd go wherever I asked him to, and then we'd fuck around on our way back if we had time. Go jump in a river and stuff. Eventually, we took on one of our other friends who's actually an American living in Austria.
Working for Red Bull.
Yeah, works with Red Bull. And he came with us eventually, and we would just, I think we went to, what do you call those? The hot springs out in Siberia, and used around some cows and stuff. It's great.
Well, I was keeping up on the social media on yours and just checking it out. And yeah, there's some really awesome places out. Not the Russia I'm used to.
Absolutely.
No. Yeah. I was like, this is Russia?
Yeah. Siberia is absolutely.
Well, they consider themselves separate of Russia. If you ask them, they're Siberian first, Russian second.
Yeah, they're like the Texas of Russia. You know?
All right.
For
those of you playing the home game, Siberia is like Texas.
A Texan, like where they're from, they're going to say Texas before they say America. So that's kind of like Siberians. They're going to say Siberia before they say Russia.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that is just absolutely crazy. And so for Kyra, it's kind of luck of the draw what you'll be riding in and how you're getting to the next, unless it was like with Polaris or something like that.
Yeah. Unless we're there specifically with a team or a brand of some sort. Usually, I negotiate something with the organization, and half the time they have something set up already to take shuttle media around and things like that. So I either end up on that, or I hitchhike with somebody, or this is the first year I've been offered a media car. So that was nice. I don't know if it'll happen again, but it was great.
Made good use of it. So you kind of mentioned it earlier. Tell me about Dakar and a tent and trying to, or do we not want to bring up bad memories?
No, Dakar and a tent in Peru was very different than Dakar and a tent in Saudi for us. For me especially, not to reference again my extremely spoiled experience at Dakar this year, but Polaris pulled out all the stops. So I did not sleep outside. I slept inside of a truck that was converted into it's called a hotel truck. It was not hard for me in regards to my living accommodations. I would say that it's almost embarrassing how spoiled I was.
Yeah, but in her defense, she only slept maybe 2.5 hours a night. So
yeah.
You might have a bed to sleep in, but if you're only in it for 120 minutes, that doesn't really count.
Yeah,
I guess they shuttle you out because they have to move the truck, so they don't let you stay in it for very long.
So you can't sleep in it while it's moving.
Yeah, theoretically, though. Yeah. You get trapped in there technically. So Justin's experience is usually more the same every race he goes to. If he doesn't get a chance to stay in the bivouac with me, then he and the guys will go somewhere close to where they need to be for the morning, put their sleeping pad or cots on the ground, and then just kind of hope nothing eats them while they're asleep.
Yeah. We don't really have a lot of time. We did pitch tents in the dunes in Saudi this year, just because we had enough time to do it, knowing that we had about 5 hours to sleep, which was a lot for us. And then knowing that gave us enough leeway to pitch tents if we wanted to. And the sand dunes had a lot of scorpions and stuff. So we just chose to throw up tents instead of risk scorpion.
Yeah, scorpion bite, whatever, sting.
Yeah, we at Silkway a couple weeks ago, we left the bivouac one night at 11 p.m.
Something like that.
And we decided we were going to drive till about 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and then find a place to sleep so that we'd be out ahead of everybody. And we had to get up at 6. So we figured we were going to have 3 to 4 hours to sleep.
You ended up getting up later too because you went out further.
We drove further, and we came into this little village, and we pulled in behind this old rundown building that we thought it just looked like an old shitty rundown building, and there was this house in the distance, and so we decided to just sleep there. So we just slept on the ground in this little grassy field. Well, it turns out that grassy field was some Siberian guy and his old lady's backyard. And I was at 4:30 in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, I had this very angry old Siberian lady and the police looking down at me and saying things in Russian.
Oh man.
We slowly we're like, oh shit. We were trying to sleep for at least another hour, but that was clearly not going to happen. So we just sort of made our peace with these folks, and got up, and then as soon as I like started packing my stuff up, I realized like, oh yeah, we're totally in their backyard. It's not just like behind a building. It's like for sure their backyard, and they were like passing through to go into their living room, and but it made for a good story and some good photos actually. But
that place was incredible.
Yeah,
I think that was the same night that I didn't sleep for 32 hours or something like that.
Yeah, the next night we ended up in a gur. Gur is the...
Was that the next night?
Mongolians call them gurs. The Mongolians actually invented them if you ask them. But a gur is what the Turks call yurts.
And what Americans call glamping.
Yeah, what Americans
just depends where you're from.
Yeah, to the Turks, they're yurts, and to the Mongolians, they're gurs, G-E-R. And we ended up in a gur the next night, I think. And I have this amazing video of Kyra attempting to type on her computer and passing out, like putting her face on the keyboard and coming back up.
I don't even think it touched the keyboard.
I'll send it.
We'll have to go back to the replay.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Actually, I have a lot of this. Dakar, he has one of me like leaning in my chair, and I think I was working, and then I'd just lean back in my chair, and then I'd fall asleep, and I'd start talking to him, and then I'd fall back asleep.
If you didn't know that she was just tired, you'd think she was blackout drunk. She's having a moment,
Yeah,
She just hasn't slept in 5 days or 6 days, and she's just dead to the world.
Oh, yeah.
And that's crazy. It's something that I had never really thought about, but it's absolutely true. I mean, if you're writing and shooting photos for a particular market, the event is going on at its time, but you have to be on whatever market that is time frame.
Yeah, it's rough. Yeah, it's rough. I mean, there's rally time, and then there's
it's harder when they're on the same time, I would say. Like Sonora Rally and Baja Rally, it's easier in one sense because it's smaller and the liaisons are smaller. Mm-hmm. And I usually, when I'm there, I have bigger responsibilities, and so I'm doing all of that plus the PR. And because it's on the same time zone as the market I'm trying to push out to, like also, I don't get to sleep there.
So no matter what, it's Well, and I do remember that because it was like, I remember when we were at Baja Rally, it's like you needed the results, and it's like I'm at, it's 2 a.m. and I'm still trying to get it nailed down, and you're still up. Hey, do you got those?
I just wait.
So team no sleep. So
for sure.
I've aged a lot in like 5 years.
Yeah, during
that speeds up the process.
Yeah, during Dakar this year, before I went to sleep every night, I would set my alarm on my phone, and I would take a screenshot of how many hours it told me I had, and the average was 2 hours and 20 minutes. That was like the average.
Yeah, and that's obviously, it doesn't count the few grateful moments we get to sleep in a vehicle.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we've learned, like, especially in the Prado and in the Land Cruiser, we all have our techniques of how to try and sleep for an hour in the truck. Like, Cristiano has this like homemade neck brace pillow thing that I don't know who made it. I think his mom made it, but it looks like something you'd get if you broke your neck in a car accident back in the 70s. Like it's just like this shitty giant foam roll wrapped in like a t-shirt with a Velcro strap on it. Mm-hmm. And he cinches this thing up around his neck, and he straps himself into the race seat, and he passes out. And it actually works really well. And a couple other folks people will tie their head to the headrest with a t-shirt.
I did it with a scarf.
With a scarf. Yeah.
That was before I got a neck brace, but then of course I lost my neck brace somewhere. Yeah.
Well, we'll have to put a tracking out for it or something. But
yeah, anyone wants to donate.
The GoFundMe for the neck brace.
Yeah.
There may be a market for those.
Absolutely. There's like 10 of us I could for sure sell them to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you can really pull your neck out from trying to fall asleep and driving the dunes.
Yeah, I think I actually suffered whiplash at Silkway this year because I passed out in the back seat while we were on the course driving off road, and we hit some kind of gnarly fucking thing in in the way. And I was so unconscious. I was just my head was just sort of dangling, and I came to, and I'm pretty sure I, had a Dale Earnhardt moment there. It was bad. Like my neck still hurts, and we're going on 2 weeks. So,
oh, wow.
Not a good program, but
no, not the ideal situation. So here's an interesting one so when you're going to go, we'll take turns on this one. So with Justin, when you're going out remote, what's your kind of like kit, like pack? Like, we know you take all your camera gear, and I mean, there's a ton of stuff there, but what else do you take besides that?
Man, I actually, to be honest, I travel with 2 bags. I have a backpack with my camera gear in it that I've pared down over the years, like really tight. Like I carry 2 camera bodies, 2 lenses, batteries, chargers, that sort of stuff, my laptop. Yeah. And then I have a duffel bag with my clothes in it, and I don't really carry a lot in the way of clothes. But when we're in the truck, I'm trying to think of I have to have my laptop with me, because as soon as we get done shooting, if I have the opportunity to at least dump my memory cards or start editing photos, I do that right away, just so that it gets done, because it's a time suck. Everything, especially at Dakar, everything's such a time suck. Like you get to the bivouac and you have to consider, like, it's a 20-minute walk to the bathroom and it's a 20-minute walk to get food. So, like, do you go the 20 minutes to go get food and then 20 minutes to come back, or do you go the other way if you need to go,
Yeah.
So everything is like a calculation on your time. So I try and do everything in the truck as best I can. So it's like, charge batteries if I can charge batteries, dump my memory cards.
I'd say all your electronics are on you at all times.
Yeah, my backpack with all my camera stuff never leaves my side. I mean, it's on my shoulder.
The duffel stays either with an Orga truck or with wherever we're keeping our camping stuff at the time. Mm-hmm. Very occasionally, I think you carry your Big Agnes jacket, which is like the one.
Yeah, I have like a puffy jacket that saved my life at Dakar this year.
Sometimes deodorant and a toothbrush.
Deodorant and a toothbrush, typically.
And then Kate's bars.
Kate's bars snacks, for sure.
Cat food that is provided.
Kate Shade, if you're out there listening, you saved my. Yeah, girl. I mean, I swear those like I'm on like a strict 2 Kates a day diet at these races, because there's just
nothing.
Like especially at Silkway, the lunch. No offense, Silkway organization, but the lunch.
Not always.
No, but the lunch that they give you, like if you leave the bivouac the night before and you want to get some like food for the next day, they give you this paper bag with cat food in it. Basically,
it looks like it.
No, it is. It's
you know what? Dakar's not that different.
Are we going to have to do the Subway test where we get a DNA tested to see if there's tuna there?
Yeah, sure. I got to be honest. Like, some of the stuff that they give you is, I mean, it's
either of the races.
It's a variety of canned meats that you don't want to eat, and then there's like
sweet things. There's always some like
juice box.
Yeah, they make up with it like with a juice box, some like semblance of cheese, potentially
cheese at Dakar, because
cheese at Dakar, and then there's some sort of sweet variations, like but an equivalent of what's supposed to be a power bar, but has like 28 grams of sugar in it.
Needless to say, Kate's bars are the way.
Yeah, unless you want to,
you just pack a couple of those and as much water as you can fit on your person, and then because a lot of the time there's 3 or 4 of us in that truck. And we split up, so somebody will get dropped. Like we dropped 3 of the 4 people get dropped, and one of them stays with the truck. Yeah. And when you get dropped somewhere, it's just you and your camera shit and whatever you want to, whatever else you feel like lugging around with you. And so, in my case, it's like, a snack and water and then camera stuff. And that's as little as I can possibly carry, the better. So
yeah, well, in that situation, I would think it's like you have to be. I mean, you're out in the middle of nowhere and in the desert, so it's like you have to pick exactly everything's calculated, what you're taking and what you're doing. What
and
about,
how long you'll be able to survive on it.
I didn't hear Oreos mentioned, thow.
Yeah. Well,
those usually sit in the car.
That goes without saying. That's my morning. I must have an Oreo in the morning with my coffee, if at all possible. That's how I function. That's how I function in this world.
But Justin doesn't want me to try and get a sponsor, so I don't really talk about it.
Oh, gotcha. But that's your like anchor. That's like that bring you back to reality.
Yeah, absolutely. I just have one. I'm not a glutton. I just want one
coffee
with some coffee. Coffee is actually
coffee is more of a staple than
with the Italians
stuff,
traveling with Edo and Cristiano. Like coffee is a huge part of our program. I mean, as soon as we're off the race course, the first thing we look for is Wi-Fi and coffee. So
yeah.
And why do I have a feeling that's not just like the 7-Eleven,
We'll take what we can get. There's times, luckily, Saudi Arabia, like they really love coffee in Saudi Arabia. So we
actually same in
Russia too. Yeah.
Like everywhere you go, coffee is everywhere. Literally, the word for coffee, I recognize it immediately because I'm like I see it everywhere.
Yeah. when we were in Peru back in 2019 for the Dakar, they left me in this. Well, it amounted to a valley. And it was about 2 miles outside of a town. And I found out very quickly that I was in a speed zone. So I started making my way towards the town to try and see if I can get better photos inside of this little like village town. And I walked the 2 miles there. I showed up. Turns out the speed zone goes all the way through the town and like another 5 miles out. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to stay in the town and, try and get some like lifestyle photos, people, cars going by. And when the stage ended, I had like 2 hours to wait before anyone was going to come get me. And I ended up meeting this guy. This guy kept asking me questions and his Spanish, my English were, meeting at a headway. And his daughter came along and was like, oh, he wants to invite you over to the house for food. And I was like, okay. So we walked like 40 minutes to his house and they fed me guinea pig and Inca Cola. And I hung out with his sister and his mom and his daughter and like, I don't know, a bunch of other family members. And I was there for like an hour and a half and waiting for cell signal and like communicating with the Italians. And then I ended up having to leave and walk another 2 miles out to the road to meet the Italian guys. But it was one of those moments where like, I didn't have any food on me. I hardly had any water, and they just dragged me into their house and fed me. Not that Inca Cola is anything like water, but they fed me, and I got to like see their guinea pig farm. And then when I left, they all wanted to like be friends on Facebook. So I'm still friends with.
Didn't the granny get fresh with you?
Yeah, grandma grabbed my butt in a photo.
But
anyhow, that was a segue. Anyhow.
Yeah. But now that we know that.
Yeah. That was a necessary piece of information.
Yep. Yeah. I was thinking at the beginning of this podcast, you know what I really want to know? That time that Justin got his ass grabbed by some random in Peru.
Yeah. And he had guinea pig. I mean, that's a very important moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so I doubt I will ever try guinea pig. Chicken? No?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a white meat. It's a white fattier meat. It's
like dark chicken meat.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
I mean, anything fried tastes the same.
True. It just depends on what oil it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just deep fat.
It's good. They make them fat, so they're meaty. I would say that more than anything for at least the American population, it doesn't taste like it's guinea pig, so you can eat it.
Okay.
There's no like, oh, I'm eating something different. It's you cut it up into cubes. People probably would think it's chicken or something.
So if you threw it in a burrito, whatever, then
you'd be stoked. You'd be like, "This is delicious. What is this?"
Yeah.
Oh my God. And then they found out.
Gerbil.
This is gerbil. Is that what it is?
They're a little small.
Yeah, true. It's the minis.
Yeah.
All right, Kyra, what's in your bag when you go when you're preparing for a day?
Well, it also because my day varies. At the Bivouac, I'm kind of in the same situation as Justin. I have all my electronics on me at all times. I'm a little more over prepared than he is because I get cold, I get hungry, and I need toilet paper. I just more than he does. So I have essentially a warm jacket, a hat, Kate's bars or some other snack I can find, as much water as I can get, sunglasses, and an unnecessary home office because my laptop is starting to break. So I bring a wireless mouse, and I have my glasses and all that shit. And then this year I brought my DJI action camera and a couple, what do you call those? What are the things that you mount the cameras on?
Gimbal? No.
So, well, this one, I'm the gimbal in this circumstance. It was like a Goji pod, like the Gorilla Claw. Anyway.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Like a tripod-ish.
Yeah. So I had one of those. And then, we had a space to keep our tent and clothing. So similar to Justin, I have one duffel bag with my clothes and random stuff. And so I kept that on the Orga truck. And if I'm actually going in the field, so to speak, there was 1 or 2 days where I think I'd had a 10K round trip walking in and out. And I think I had just a bag to sling over my shoulder, or I'll have this big hip pack, keep water in it, my phone, a charging port, the Wi-Fi hotspot. And then for the most part, that's it. Because I really only use my phone when I'm out in the field, take notes, do videos, take pictures. All that stuff happens with my phone or my action camera. So it's a lot more manageable for my stuff.
Yeah. Equipment packs down a lot easier. But
oh yeah.
But for you, I mean, that to me is when you're writing press releases and stuff like that. I mean, I feel like you have to be 100% zoned in computer, in your own space, right? I mean, that's.
Oh yeah.
Or you'll write anywhere. Doesn't matter.
I mean, I'm in my space in one sense, but everywhere is my space in the other sense.
I've got a photo of her leaning in the sand dunes, leaning against the back tire of the Land Cruiser, with her laptop out, writing her press release while we're waiting on trucks to come by, that sort of thing. She'll just, as long as she has the space and time to do it and she's awake, I think that's the awake part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can work anywhere. I work in the car a lot.
Yeah.
Work against the car. I'll work on a counter. It doesn't really.
Yeah, I have another photo of her sitting on a police desk in Mongolia at the airport. Yeah.
Trying to make it happen.
Yeah, the sleep deprivation is, I think, if there's anything I would want people to really understand about how different this sort of shit is from shooting a score race or trying to cover anything else motorsport wise. The sleep deprivation is the biggest thing. The absolute lack of sleep, and then you're forced to still function on a daily basis is.
Well, and it's a marathon of sleepless nights. Whereas, for instance, by all means, you do not sleep at the scores. 1000. I mean, every time we shoot, we're up for probably close to 40 hours with barely any sleep. But it's just that a rally raid, it's day after day after day that you're doing that. And so that's where it's you can be running off of adrenaline at a 24-hour enduro race, but you run out of that eventually.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was thinking, I have friends listening. I know they're going to be like, no, I don't get to sleep, and and I've seen it. And I've chased my brother down the middle of the desert, and except that's 2 days tops.
Yeah.
Right? Baja 1000, a really shitty, right? You're just, everything went sideways, and it's just, that's still only 2 days.
Yeah.
This
for
is
sure. There's a challenge there. We've done that. It's still super dangerous.
It sucks a lot.
Yeah.
But that's not Rally Raid. Rally Raid is much more days.
10 days into this year's Dakar, 10 days in, I was legitimately hallucinating while trying to drive due to like a lack of sleep. I was starting to see, I thought I saw a big rabbit at one point. I'm not making, I swear to God, I thought I saw this big fucking rabbit. And I slowed the truck down, and Cristiano was sitting next to me, and he was like working on photos, and he looks at me and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, I didn't even want to say it because it sounded so stupid. I was like, nothing. I thought I saw something, and I kept driving. And then a few hours later, I thought I saw a person standing in the road, and we're in the middle of nowhere, Saudi Arabia. There was definitely no one standing in the road. And I finally started you start nodding off while you're driving, and we would just rotate shifts driving. Like whoever started to nod out would swap to the back and try and sleep for 45 minutes or an hour. And then, you would just rotate your way through and let everybody get an hour and a half of sleep in, because it just, you're functioning on nothing. Like it doesn't matter how much coffee you have, food you have, even sleep is awful. Kyra and I have talked about this at length, because you're running on 2 to 3 hours of sleep every night, you're not really sleeping. You're just sort of laying down for a couple of hours. And if you do get that chance to sleep for 4 or 5 hours, it's almost worse, because the minute you even fucking tiptoe into REM, you do not want to get up. Your body is like, I don't care about the Dakar. I don't care about Ricky Brabeck or America or Honda. I want to go to sleep. And I want to stay asleep. And it's that's the worst, is you sleep for 4.5 hours, 5 hours if you're lucky. And man, trying to wake up.
We function ironically. Yeah. You wake up better when you don't sleep well, once you've already gotten into that pattern, which honestly, it saved us from missing airplanes. And we got recklessly drunk on the last day of the Silkway. And then
with a bunch of crazy Russian.
Yeah, they were these guys, they made a bunch of them are moonshiners. And they're they were trying to get us to drink with them all week. And we're like, no, we'll wait and see. And then finally the last day, the biggest one just grabbed us from the cocktail line or wherever we were standing. And we ended up in a cave of these are the media drivers. Mm-hmm. They're the local Russian driving company that was hired to take all of us hooligans around. And we made friends with them. Long story short, they parked all their cars in a circle and then put a park bench, which I have no idea where they got a bench. There is not a bench in the entire bivouac.
No.
And they have a little bench.
Yeah. And
they got a full buffet Russian spread out in the middle with plastic water bottles filled with moonshine. Yeah. And there was not
each of five of the 9 dudes made their own moonshine. And so they each of them wanted us to try it in succession. If you said you liked one, the other guy would be like, no, try this one. This one's better.
You're different. I'm none of them are different.
You just spiral downhill.
Yeah. And then you get to number 5 and the guy at number 1 is going, okay, but try mine again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The number 1 dude was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. No, it was great. It's just that we both fell asleep. Somehow we managed to pack.
Yeah.
And we fell asleep, and then I woke up at 9 in the morning. Let's say we have to somehow get back to the bivouac with all of our stuff before 11. I woke up at 9. Both of our phones were dead and off. And I was just like, oh my God, a plane.
So all of that rally, the lack of sleep at the rallies was just simply practice for that one last night with these drunken, crazy.
Yeah.
It's really a unique set of skills.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, tell your kids it's a really great thing to focus your energy on.
Yeah. All that the college education paid off right there.
Yeah. Some do CrossFit, some do sleep deprivation. Whatever.
That's great.
Yeah. So and it's crazy because each, like you said, it's like when you get to like day 10, right? And Silkway would have done that had it gone the full length.
Yeah, I think 11 days would have been
11 days.
Yeah.
It's unique. I think it's like very unique challenges with is just on the sleep deprivation side of it. Kyra, you have to figure out how to put something coherent, impactful, creative, like, and then Justin, you're looking at 6 different pictures. I don't think photographers realize this, but there's, I don't know, how many frames per second will I think you're on Canon, right?
Yeah, shoot Canon. Yeah.
So how many frames per second?
11, something like that. I probably
an older camera.
It's a couple years old.
Either way, it's 11 pictures in 1 second, and you're trying to figure out which one of those 11 pictures is the right one.
Moderately the same.
Yeah, which one is the best? Yeah. Well, I probably burn. I've narrowed it down. I've gotten better at what I'm doing. So it's like I can shoot 2,500 frames a day and feel pretty good. That's like the most that I need at this point. Whereas I have a colleague. I won't name names, but
Ishan?
He may or may not shoot 10,000 photos a day at Dakar. And I don't know. Raw, yeah. He shoots 10,000 raw frames a day. I don't know how I do know how he goes through it because it takes forever.
Yeah.
Like we're all done. We're all trying to eat something and go to sleep for 2 hours and he's still working. So
he's an artiste. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Ishan, I hope you hear this, but like he does an amazing job with his editing, but God, his files are huge and plentiful.
Yeah. Well, shooting, raw image. So he owns stock in like SanDisk or one of those, right?
Yeah, I think he's actually sponsored by SanDisk.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean that's like raw files. Just relatively speaking, how much bigger is a raw file versus something that you would shoot?
Oh, a lot. I mean, I only shoot raw if I have to. I've been having this argument with the Italians lately because we're like a 50-50 split. Some of us shoot JPEG and some shoot raw, and it just like going back to what we were talking about with just turnaround time and delivery. Like my objective is to deliver good photos as quickly as I can. That is my daily objective. The same way that Kyra's objective is to deliver good, coherent.
Coherent is mostly the key.
Coherent, but I mean, she has this amazing ability to be, sleep deprived and seeing sideways and typing at two words a minute at best, and somehow can produce this, this content that's fucking like that. I wake up in the morning, and when we're transiting in our liaisons, I get to read it on my phone. And I have to send her messages like, how did you write that? Like, how are you doing this? Because I could not write that.
It takes 12 hours and you don't edit yourself or reread your story ever. Yeah. Like, I don't know.
I could see that. That's like the test thing, right? Where you don't go back and second guess your answers.
Yeah.
Mostly because I can't stay awake. I mean, I want to.
Okay.
I do try to read it over, but there are times where I'm just like, oh my God, I think it's almost 12 in the US. I'm going to send it. Or I don't have service. Like there are also times I don't have enough service. And if I don't send it right now, then I'm not going to have service for another 6-8 hours. So I'm just, sometimes you gotta send it.
Yeah. Well, and then like you said, I mean, that's the crunch, because if it's not you guys, it's somebody else sending it. I mean, like you guys are under a lot of pressure to perform for that stuff. So
yeah, we're lucky because we have really good relationships with the U.S. publications that publish our stuff, and the editors, and they're not just their willingness to publish it, but they're lenient on delivery. They don't need a 7 a.m. East Coast time delivery. Like they'll take it when they can get it, because they know what's going on in our world. Like a lot of times shit's getting delivered via cell phone. Like I'll edit photos on my computer. I'll put the photos onto my cell phone. I'll then upload the photos from my cell phone onto Dropbox so that Kyra has access to them, so she can send press releases, which she ends up having to send via her cell phone, because for whatever reason, cell service works better than your Wi-Fi.
Yeah, for some reason that'll work out. that way. I just
Bluetooth it. A lot of these lessons we learned in Baja, though, at the Baja rally, like we learned early on what not to do, and what, like the first Baja rally we went to, Scotty was ill prepared for media to be there. He didn't have enough. Basically, he didn't have enough power outlets,
resources.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it came down to power outlets. Great. Like, but we came back to him. We're like, if you want media to be present, like, you need to make sure people can charge their phones, their laptops, their cameras. Like, that is the juice that gets squeezed from this thing. So we learned that early on with the Baja Rally, and Scotty gave us a lot of leeway to fix that for him, which was cool. He allowed us to solve that problem. And,
well, it teaches you just to be self-reliant. So if you're going to be in media, a lot of the media depends on, let's say, the Dakar or the Silkway or whomever, to be providing them internet, to provide them electrical outlets and charging options and transport and all these things. And the more independent you are, the more freedom you have. I don't have to be on Dakar's schedule. I don't have to sit in their weird cramped media room. I don't have to pay 20,000 euro for an unlimited shit Wi-Fi connection.
Do you hear the dial-up tone when it's connecting?
Yeah, yeah, it's like,
yeah. Is that where America Online went?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the French bought it, and they're using it at Dakar
to torture us.
Yeah. It can make everything that much harder for everyone.
But honestly, I mean, you have better cell service half the time. Getting a Wi-Fi hotspot for yourself, it just makes it so I can work in the car and I don't have to wait until an 8-hour transit is over. And it's being independent is always better. And I mean, if we're kind of really ahead for anyone who's trying to enter into this industry in our positions at this point, there's already a huge barrier to entry, and then trying to figure out the ins and the outs is also very hard. And it's something that you have to learn on your own usually, because even if we tell you what's the right thing, it might not work for what your setup is.
Mm-hmm. Well, I could quickly see, like, I get it when I have to go pack electronics, laptops to do timing and scoring and all that stuff. But from what you guys have a lot more devices. And I could see somebody new not knowing is like, next thing you know, they've got a 60-pound backpack because they've got every single charger, 6 battery packs.
Yeah, no, I've had folks that want to shoot with me come along and bring a lot more camera gear than they need, and they don't realize, like, you just have to make do. Like, it. Mm-hmm. I think one of the best lessons I've learned from all that is just making do, figuring out how to, work with what you've got. And, you really don't want, you don't need 6 different lenses and an extra body and a tripod and a pole and, a light flash and all this stuff. You can get away with a lot less. You just have to, endure. There's different levels. I mean, there's definitely different levels, and what we're doing is time sensitive, and it's more photojournalism in that traditional sense than just pure photography. Like, I'm not delivering photos to Kyra that are, I didn't spend 3 hours, editing raw files. We're just trying to get stuff to the world. We want to increase people's awareness of rally racing, especially in North America, because it's such a quiet place, Yeah.
Well, it's like soccer. It's popular everywhere else except in the U.S.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I got 2 questions that I've been thinking about. One for both of you guys is, and I'm sure maybe it's an individual, like they're different events, but what's the favorite event, or what was that one event that you were like, I love everything, like that first one that you're just like, I love this, and I love what I'm doing?
Like what got us into rally, or what was the...
No, any event. I mean, rally or otherwise. I mean, you guys have been doing media for a while, and I've seen the list you guys have multiple clients and multiple people that you work with and in different industries. What was that one thing that you guys said, like, this is what we do? We're going to be photographers. We're going to do media. We're going to do writing. We're going to do all of this stuff. Was it a rally?
I would say that actually, in regards to what we do as a whole outside of motorsports, it's fairly multifaceted. But what I think definitely the first two events that we went to cover in regards to motorsports, the Baja 1000 and the Sardinia Rally, both were experiences where we're like, yeah, let's keep doing this as much as possible if anyone will take us. And from then on, I'd say after Sardinia was really when I realized that we'd have to put in a lot of effort to actually get to the rallies and to be recognized by any publications or recognized by the organizations themselves to even give a shit about accrediting us. I mean, it's really hard to get accredited when you're a freelancer, and there's no one behind you to be like, yeah, this is just an editor from Cycle World or from Men's Journal or whatever. You know, having that behind you is already your pass to get into a rally or get into an event of that kind. Whereas if you have your own company and you're making your own content and you're just praying someone gives a shit, you have to do a lot of bullshitting, I don't know, to get someone to give you a chance. And so that became the rhythm after that. But I would say for sure the Baja 1000 was the first step, and Sardinia was something that we didn't expect to get into that took us closer to Dakar. And I think that for me, at the very least, was what got me into rally.
I think I think going to Dakar in Peru was, I don't want to say it was like a culmination of it felt like we finally got there. Like, I don't know how to explain. Like, I didn't even know that I wanted to go there. Like, I knew I wanted to go to Dakar, but I didn't know that going to Dakar as a journalist or a photographer was going to mean that much to me. Like, I've covered a lot of races, I've shot a lot of different things, and I just, at a distance, it felt like it could just be any other event. But leading up to our attendance at Dakar, getting to go to Dakar for the very first time, it kind of dawned on me, like, this is a big deal. Like, there's not a lot of Americans that go to Dakar as journalists, as photographers, as racers for that matter. And, the year that we went, Andrew Short was there for the first time. Skyler was there for his first time, and Ricky was there for his third time, I guess, at that point. But maybe it was Shorty's second time. But nonetheless, it was all of a sudden, it kind of felt like it culminated in something insane. I was like, holy shit! Like, and Dakar in South America was so different than Dakar in Saudi. Like, it was the start of the Dakar in Peru. There were 300,000 people at the start in Lima on the coast. The where they held the start was like this. I mean, it felt like an amusement park on the coast, and it was all fenced off, and you had to get in. There was a riot going on because too many people were trying to get into the event, and I got caught up in this. I mean, people were like holding their babies above their heads so their babies wouldn't get crushed in the crowd, because that's how many people there were just compacted into the area. And I escaped with Max Eddy and Robbie Gordon, because they saw me, and we had this like America moment, like Team America moment. And everybody was like getting out of the way to get photos of Robbie Gordon. And I just like slid in behind Robbie and Max, and Max was like, you trying to get out of here? And I'm like, fuck yeah. And we ended up like moving fences and like jumping over barricades. I mean, it was completely insane. And like being at Dakar as an American that year, being the only Americans there as journalists, like Kyra and I were the only American journalists there, and Josh doesn't count because he lives in Austria. So
I mean,
Excluded.
the truth, he gave up, didn't meet the other Americans. That's at least leeway. But
yeah, I mean, there were people there.
There were Europeans there who were writing for American publications, but none of them were American.
Yeah, we were there covering Dakar for Norway. It felt like it at the time, like we were there covering Dakar for America. Like there was.
And little did we know it'd be the last time it was in South America, which is South America Dakar is different than Africa Dakar. It's different than Middle East Dakar, and it's different than a lot of other races because, I mean, frame of reference, the pro factory guys, when they see a huge crowd, which is something that we actually experienced at Silkway this year, there's this huge crowd at the start of one of the races. It was the last day in Russia, or supposed to be. And the guys referenced it looking like we were back in Peru, or it looks like we were back in South America. Yeah. Because in South America, the crowd is so huge and so supportive and so interested that, you know, it had been there for 10 years. So the crowd had built up every year. They know it's coming back. So they plan for it. And everywhere else, it's like either the rally is too small or the event itself is relatively unknown. So these guys don't, unlike most other athletes that exist in the world, they don't have fans that come and see them and cheer them on. And so that was the difference is South America had that. Now Dakar doesn't have that. Now COVID prevents joy from happening at the starting line anyway. So
it's very, very different. So would you go as far as saying Dakar Peru better than Dakar Saudi?
For me, Dakar Peru.
For the fans.
Yeah, Dakar Peru. I'm actually, to be honest, like Peru was. You know, I'm not fortunate enough to have seen the rest of what they've done in South America, and Edo and Cristiano have shot Dakar since 2009, I believe. So they basically saw. Edo has seen every Dakar in South America, and you know he definitely gave me some insight into how special Peru was, and because of the dunes in Peru, there's really no dunes like those in the world. They're just, I've never seen sand that tall. It's hard to describe the fucking sand dunes down there. I mean, it's unlike anything else. Yeah. And so to me, Peru, like Dakar in Peru was it became even more special. Not only was it our first Dakar, but it was also the last Dakar in South America, and likely not to go back there, given like just
the circumstance.
Like I feel like they're going to keep it in the Middle East for a long time, and then who knows? But but
they're very different animals. I think that's one thing that should be pointed out is that Saudi Dakar and South America Dakar are very different for different reasons, with positives and negatives. Like the energy that you get from South America, the crowd, the joy that you feel amongst everyone who knows about Dakar, whatever, that's something that you can't manifest on your own. But the landscapes, and again, we've only been to Peru, so I know that there's incredible landscapes all over South America, but the landscape in Saudi Arabia was incredible. I mean, it was really otherworldly. And the people there, it's a culture that I was extremely curious about. It's not one that I ever expected to go and see on my own without cause. Yeah. And, as they always do, the people are 10 times what the government is. Like, it's never what you think they are.
Second stage 2 of this year's Dakar, just outside of Jeddah. I'm only like 10K in from the start of the stage. I'm shooting photos. There's no one around. I mean, it's not that far from civilization. There's just nobody there. And all of a sudden, this kid, like literally, he came out of the dust. Like he just started walking over to me, and he speaks perfect English. And he's like 30 years old. His name's Nasser, and he wanted to know what I was doing, who I was shooting photos for. He wanted to welcome me to Saudi Arabia, and then it turns out that he's like a computer scientist that is from Riyadh, and he invited, like he took his 3-week vacation from work to chase the Dakar because he loves motorsports. And I ended up seeing him again, like 5 days later in the middle of nowhere. He was just out in the desert and I ran into him. And then when we got to Riyadh, Kyra and I met him.
Jeddah.
Or no, we got back to Jeddah. Yeah. We met him and he like brought us dates and tea and like came and met us and hung out. And the whole time he and I were like messaging each other through social media and all this sort of shit. And it just, he was like my insight into the culture of Saudi at that time. And
with that generation.
Yeah. I mean, he's 30, 31 years old. Like it opened up a lot of interesting doors to understand what's going on in the country. And I'm very interested to see how the Dakar plays itself out over the next few years in that space, in that area.
Yeah, I mean, they're different, and selfishly, I prefer it in the Middle East just because it gives me a reason to be there. Otherwise, South America, it's easier for me to communicate. Spanish is at least more functional for me than Arabic. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, it's good no matter where it goes, I think.
Yeah. Well, it seems like each is going to have its unique, it's reason why it exists there, why it's cool, why people should go. But they will be different every time.
For sure.
I think that's the goal, right?
Yeah. True. Never repeat the event. So what about any of the other events? Any events that you guys are looking forward to maybe doing this year outside of the Baja Rally? Something new, a new event?
I mean, Silkway I always look forward to. It's just a region. It covers regions that I like going to. I like the people there. And then we have an opportunity because of Ross Branch. He's a factory rider for Yamaha, and he's urging us to go to the Kalahari Rally, which is in South Africa.
Botswana.
Is it in Botswana?
Botswana.
Okay.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we would. It's September, early September, first week of September. We were the last day of the Silkway. We were having beers with Ross, and Ross was adamant about the fact that we should go to the Kalahari Rally this year. And put us in touch with the organizer, and the organizer is very much stoked on the idea of having American journalists there. Nice. So, kind of snowball effect into now we're trying to figure out
how to get ourselves there.
Yeah, we can get there. It's just do we have the time? But
also the resources. It's pretty expensive to go from one rally into another rally without taking any time to raise funds for yourself or to balance out, I guess.
Yeah.
And that, because this is obviously, this is what you guys do for a living. I mean, this is your guys' dream and what you do. So have to fund it,
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the objective. The Kalahari Rally is the only road to Dakar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's the only, entry point, qualifier for Dakar in South Africa.
In Southern Africa.
Southern Africa.
Yeah, it's sort of like the Sonora Rally in North America. If you win the Sonora Rally, you get a free entry to Dakar. The Kalahari Rally, if you win it, you get an entry to Dakar. So if you live in Southern Africa and you can win, I believe that's how Ross Branch got himself into rally racing. Unbeknownst to me, until Ross and I were, having drinks, he's a bush pilot. Effectively, he flies people into the Akawango Delta. His day job is being a bush pilot, and he just so happens to be really fast on a dirt bike. Very, very akin to our good friend Skylar Howes, who is very fast on a dirt bike, but also happens to be a hot air balloon pilot. So
I was. After that episode, I got so many questions. But what does he do for a day job? I had no idea.
He works for Fast Company. Well, he was working for Fast Company at the time or whatever. But
He has a bunch of odd jobs, but his family business is the hot air balloon thing. So he's working on his pilot's license. And I think that was up until he became a factory rider. Now I think he's just
now his big job is drinking
Rockstar. Yeah.
Whatever that drink is. He drinks that drink and goes real fast on his dirt bike.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how would you poorly explain a rally racer's job?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, there you go. drink some stuff and read a map.
Yeah. Drink this energy drink, read a map, and go fast.
Yeah.
His mom still doesn't know how we make a living, which is hilarious because they'll talk every now and then. She's like, "So that all sounds good, but so how do you pay your bills?"
Carefully.
Okay, very slowly. Yeah.
Yeah, slowly. So
donate plasma.
Whatever. There you go. Blood, plasma. Different parts around the world. Well traveled. So my other question I always kind of wondered this is where did the name West by 1000 come from?
Well,
how's that for an out of the blue question?
Yeah, it changes things up. Jess and I, when we first met, kind of part of the criteria of wanting to, I guess, be with each other was whether we do like random adventures of sorts. And so one of it was to get some dual sports and take his dad along and go ride the length of Baja. And then go, well, at the time we were supposed to be going to La Paz so that we can see the end of the Baja 1000. And so we kind of came up with this trip and decided, because Justin was at the time, he was the marketing guy for TourTech, so he branded pretty much everything that we did. And we decided to come up with the idea that we're going west. Technically we were going south, but somehow west made sense at the time. And so we were going west by 1,000 kilometers. So
1,000 miles.
1,000 miles. I thought
we were going down the west coast, 1,000 miles.
Exactly.
That was the idea.
It was supposed to be like an equation.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was actually branding the trip that we were doing. And so that trip led us, prepping for that trip is what started essentially our foray into journalism. Justin was taking pictures of me learning how to ride a dirt bike, and I was writing about the experience, and he proposed my stories to a couple different outlets that he had worked with through TourTech and other things. And so they accepted it, published it, and from then on out, we wrote about all the random shit we did. And just when Justin decided to, he ended up taking on TourTech as a client versus working for them as an employee. He had already kind of left the office, did everything remotely. We decided to turn that into a business. We had a couple clients come on for social media. So that's kind of how the social media, PR, marketing, all that stuff opened up as well. So we just decided it was easier to keep the branding that we'd already made shirts for. And just use that for everything.
Sometimes when you make stickers, you're committed, you're like, shit, I made a sticker for this. Like, what do we do?
We've come this far.
Yeah. Good thing we didn't get a tattoo,
You never know. It's still early.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah. Ta-da. Oh man, well that's cool. So I never knew the story about it. Like I always just knew as West by 1000, but I never knew what the backstory was to the name.
It all started. Yeah, it was a dual sport trip with my dad in 2014, and the first time we all explored Baja and then we ended up we asked our friend Asher, who's a tattoo artist, sign painter in
pinstriper, classic sign painter. Like he does everything by hand. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, he can do everything. We asked him to help us because West by 1000 was just literally the words
written out in a certain font. So
he created the little arrow logo for us, and that's been it's just been kind of our, I think it's the at the time when he created it, he's like, any good brand shouldn't have to explain what it is in their logo. It should just be like Nike doesn't say Nike. It's just a swoosh, You should just describe yourself by the logo. And so he helped us get there.
Yeah. Nice. Not to say anyone has any idea what the logo means, but nope. It'll make sense if you know who we are.
Yeah. Those, if you know, that's the, but otherwise it's concise. Like it's sharp and it's something that is recognizable. Yeah. And memorable. So
that was the hope.
Hopefully it worked.
And I mean, we still don't really know how to describe it. Like we just make stuff. We make words, we make pictures, we make videos,
We'll do anything just about that anyone will give us money to do if it allows us to, if we can do it the way we want to.
As long as we can be creative.
Yeah.
On the game.
Yeah. I mean, well, and I've seen it in other areas, and you guys have a very unique style of photography. Like it's both. If you didn't see who wrote it, by the time you got to the end of the press release or the article, or whatever, it's like you could tell that you did it, Kyra. You have a very unique style.
Yeah.
And the photos is the same thing. Each photographer has, like going through the Baja Rally images. Like it took me a while to figure out who needed to be tagged and the photography. But then all of a sudden it's like you just realize it, like, oh, that's Justin's picture. There's no way that's not Justin's picture. And you look at it and you go, holy shit, it's Justin's picture. So that's like, it's a very, very, very standout, what you guys are doing. So that's awesome.
Thanks.
Very awesome. Well, cool. So what's next? So Kalahari Rally possibly in the books?
Yeah, I mean, I think
we're in Italy until the first week of August, and then we're back in the States for a hot second, and then either myself or both of us go on a motorcycle trip from Arizona to Wisconsin
with his stepdad.
With my mom's husband. That's been kind of pre-planned, and we get done with that, and then
we were going to go and get other bikes while we were out there, and then ride up to the Michigan Peninsula,
Upper Peninsula
to Beaver Island. Mm-hmm. But if we end up going to the Kalahari Rally, we might have to cut that short. Sorry,
we don't know.
And fly out to South Africa, I think Johannesburg, last week of August. And then I'm not sure yet how long we would stay. And then if we're back in time, well, technically I'm trying to race the Baja Rally with my friend Cindy in a UTV. Yes. And the thing about it is neither of us have raced a rally, nor have we driven a UTV. And then we also don't have any.
Oh yeah. They're almost there.
We're really close.
All right.
I've been reading some paperwork about rally navigation. I have a general idea because of driving around in the car on the race course, but otherwise, it's just like a little bit of work and then gonna go race maybe.
That would be awesome.
Nonetheless, I think I'm going to be at the Baja Rally end of September. No, not end of September. Yeah, end of September.
End of September, first days of October. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to shoot photos. And then, I don't know.
I guess just the score series starts up after that, so we just usually try and stay in Mexico.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we usually shoot the 1,000. At least we have for the last 4 years, but we'll see.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah. So it sounds like a lot of tough decisions on where in the world to visit are coming.
Usually, yeah. All the time.
Yeah.
That's horrible. Why would you sign up for that?
Yeah. There's no money, but it's.
Yeah.
There's just enough money to get us to those places.
Get to them and then go, start planning for the next one. And
yeah, exactly.
Sounds like you guys made a lot of great contacts and met a lot of great people.
Always, yeah.
We great people. I mean, you're an example. Like we we got to meet you via Rally and our friend Manny here in Italy, and the other, Cristiano Eduardo.
I mean, and beyond Rally, we've just in our travels, we've met so many interesting people, and that's really, I mean, that is really, those are the memories or the things that make up your memories. Yeah.
Rally racing has had this weird kumbaya witches effect on us. Like it like, I don't know how to explain it, but we've become friends with so many people in this community that, I would hate to miss that moment. I would hate to miss seeing Skylar Howes win the Dakar, which is going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. And if he does, his firstborn child is going to be named Justin, by the way. The deal. He and I, we brokered this deal. He doesn't remember it, but we brokered this deal.
Oh, he remembers it.
Yeah.
He's just a voice.
Skylar, if you're listening, it is now documented as well on the internet.
Justin Howes.
Yeah.
Justin Howes.
Even
if it's a girl, it's not going to be Justine.
That's right. God damn it.
First boy,
son.
No, yeah. Justin.
Yeah, it's got to be Justin.
Oh, go on. Doesn't matter.
No exceptions.
No exceptions.
None whatsoever. Well, yeah, that's cool. I mean, and it's in keeping track, and right after I met you guys and it was down at Baja Rally and just seeing like all the stuff that you guys do and everywhere you guys get to travel. I mean, it's like, it's crazy. I mean, it's just like this awesome, like, I don't know if nomadic is the correct terminology, but like, I can't tell you where you guys are based out of.
Yeah.
And that's awesome, I think.
Right. Yeah.
Like, where's home base at? And I think that's cool. I mean, and like you said, the people you meet, I mean, you never know when you're going to get your ass grabbed by some random grandma or, I mean, it's crazy.
It happens with Justin a lot more than you think. He's like a magnet.
A magnet for that?
Yeah. Just like wandering hands.
Yeah. Okay. He's got that.
No.
It's probably because of the follow through he has on photos. Was that picture of you from Dakar? I'm sure it was one of the guys. Yeah.
Oh,
looks like you're bowling.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's the follow through. Yeah. That's what it is.
Better at bowling with those kinds of moves.
My friend from Brazil took that. It's the best.
Yeah.
My mom loves that fucking photo.
That one's gonna end up over the mantle.
She took a photo that was like of Justin and I down to put that one up. I was like, cool.
So great. Where'd the other picture go? It's like in the attic in the garage.
Yeah.
I think, funny enough, it's just because her sister made it, and her sister loves crafts. And if you know women who love crafting, you'll know what that photo looked like. Like a bubble with some glitter in it. I don't know. It was waiting to be replaced.
Pictures like, I don't know women that love crafting.
I don't. I'm trying to picture it, but it's just not happening.
It's not in you.
I try to avoid women that love crafting.
I like crafting, I'm not gonna lie.
Kyra, I've seen some stuff that you do, right? You do the magic cards. You do some stuff on that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she's amazing. She's incredibly talented. She doesn't like to talk about it, but she's extraordinarily talented.
That's my secret.
Oh, was I not? That's like your what do you mean? Nom de plume, or what do they call it?
Yeah.
Did I just reveal your secret identity?
Well, I mean, if you get me more commissions, then I guess I can't really complain.
Well, speaking of that, where's the best place for people to see your guys' work and what you guys have done? I mean, I got the West by 1000 website, but where else can people follow you guys and just know more about it?
Wow.
Our website's really bad because
we have not updated it for a long time.
Okay, for those who just heard that is just the business card landing page. That's it.
Justin's Instagram is a good place. Mine is like so. I've got like low level influencer type content, whereas Justin's is all his work. So you see both where we're we're going and where we've been and the projects that we're working on, usually on his Instagram. He also has a web, like a kind of a portfolio website. So that's a good place. I mean, we don't really update verbally. We just kind of tag ourselves and put up stories, and it's funny when you start doing social media for everyone else, your social media starts to look like shit.
Yeah. Yeah, you just, I don't know. Self-promotion self-aggrandizing is hard for us. I think we're just
lazy.
I think our work.
I don't know where you would sneak it in with the schedule that you guys have at the rally anyway.
Yeah, I me'n it's like I try and share stuff just because I want people to see what we're doing, but
Justin, I'd say Justin's social media Instagram account is really good for visual stuff and just kind of keeping tabs. His website, jwcoffee.com, that's a good place just to see new work from him. And West by 1000 Instagram, and Facebook, he'll post, like, if we have stories out or things like that, he'll put something up there. Otherwise, his Twitter is a great place to read, like, really random.
Stay off of Twitter.
You don't want to read me. You guys don't want to get on my Twitter. You're going to see a bunch of shit you don't want to see.
It's true. It's very
the grandma probably saw it, and that's why you got.
There's no context whatsoever. So just be aware that it has nothing to do with our work, and it has nothing to do with. I do like to quote my dad on Twitter with zero context, and so in an effort to help you conclude this episode of Chasing Waypoints, Justin will look up an unsolicited, contextual quote from his father. For the sake of, I don't know why, because I think it's funny. Because he's so funny.
Okay, this is my latest quote from my dad. I'm going to show you the strangest bird shit event I've ever witnessed. That's it. That's it. That's what my father said.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Shit Justin's dad says.
It's the funniest thing I've ever read.
But that's the thing, though, because I don't know what they feed birds, at least in Southern California, because that shit does not go away. It just stays there. It's like,
no. To give the context, it was like he described it as a dive bombing event where he couldn't understand how, like, he thinks birds shit directly south, right, like straight down, but he couldn't understand how they like
threw it like a frisbee.
They threw it like on the side of his car. He was like, how? It was on his wheels, I think.
Yeah. To answer that question, emotion. All you got to do is just continually.
But it's way funnier when there's no context and it's my father.
No, it's just out of nowhere. Here's the next text. Projectile shitting. Nice. I am definitely going to recommend people get over to jwcoffee.com. I'm scrolling through the website right now, and that's a lot of really awesome work. So I fully expect that you see it and get in contact. Do you have, let's see, at the top of the page, you do have a contact where we can get, if somebody sees this and says, I want them at my event. How would they get a hold of you? What's the best way to get a hold of you guys for that?
Email.
Okay.
I don't know. Is there a contact on there? If you go to Westbound1000.com, there's contact there, or any one of our Instagram handles will technically answer you there.
Westbound1000.com has our email.
Yeah. There is, so if
we're on all of those channels enough to see.
Yeah, to be responsive. Well, that's how I communicate with you guys. It's easier. Yeah.
Messenger, whatever.
But if you are a email kind of person, then westby1000.com, and at the very bottom, contact page. Perfect.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, you guys are in Italy, which means it's probably getting closer to midnight or something. No?
10, yeah, we're doing all right.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to take up your whole evening, but I do greatly appreciate you guys taking some time from the busy schedule and recuperation.
Yeah, it was awesome to chat to you.
So hopefully we get to see you guys soon at Baja Rally. And if not, it's because you're traveling the world, and that is not a bad thing.
Yeah. Nonetheless, we're going to see you.
Yep. Awesome, guys. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you guys taking the time.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, of course. All right, so there you have it. That was Justin and Kyra of West by 1000. And man, going deep, hour and 40 minutes. That was pretty crazy. I was not expected to go that long, but it was awesome actually talking to them, learning a little bit more about the events that they have covered and making their story. So anyway, with that being said, let's wrap up this episode. We will see you guys next week. Hope everybody is having out fun, keeping it shiny side up, and all right, that is the wrap for the Chasing Waypoints podcast this week. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like what you heard. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and a bunch of others. Also, follow us on social media. You can find us on Facebook under Chasing Waypoints, Instagram, Chasing Waypoints _official, and of course, the YouTube under Chasing Waypoints. Hope everybody has a good week. We will see you guys for the next episode. Remember, shiny side up, and don't forget to tag us. We want to see where you guys are riding and what you guys are up to. Have a great week.